Okay, we're going to introduce the new summary, which is going to appear with the asterisk summary on your forms menu. It will eventually, over the next couple of weeks, end up replacing several existing forms in Encompass. Could technically replace the 1003 all pages, the transmittal summary, 4506T property information, the borrower summary for the loan officer and processor, the whole counselor list, the itemization, the LE pages 1 through 3, and the written list of service providers. All those forms can be removed from the default view. We're going to hold a couple weeks though to do that. So looking at the new form, it's going to look relatively similar at first. You're going to notice some new important dates that are going to appear up here, such as the days till closing, the countdown from current date to the estimated closing date that's input, quick entry to the first payment date, and your RESPA application date, your GFE application, that is the date that was pulled from the disclosure tracking form. General information about the application and the refinance transaction itself, jumping into the borrower information where you still have your no co-applicant indicator. Social Security verification is down below, followed by the borrower's present address, current mailing address, and previous addresses. We also have information on the subject property. We could click the subject property TBD, which would replace the address with just TBD, which would only be applicable for purchase transactions. Your property type for a quick entry, your estimated value, and your appraised value. Here we could trigger the USPS address verification automatically. It does load by default when the zip code is altered, but if you wanted to rerun it manually, you could click the lookup button here. And down below is the source information. We also have a lot of new links, as you might see in here, such as the purchase information, quick entry for the contract date, must close by, whether or not the purchase contract is in the e-folder or not. We also have quick access to the file of contact. And from here, you also jump into the vendor information. Your copy from borrower button has the same functionality as before, so does the show all VOR. A new button has been added where you can get quickly access the purchase contract if there is one in the e-folder. Same with the appraisal and the property information, the appraisal. The property information button will take you to the property info form where you can quickly access and enter in information about the property itself. From here, you could order flood. This will take you straight to your flood services. System's running a little slow today, so it might take a minute for this to upload. And if we want to know more details about the FEMA disaster, this is the button that'll take you straight to the FEMA check itself. Okay, so we also now have the transaction details, which we'll pull up over here to the side. From here, we have links to the transmittal summary. If this were an FHA loan, it would go to the HUD version of this. You can quickly access lenders if you needed to export a 3.2 file or if you needed to go into OB for product and pricing. Of course, all your loan program, closing cost details, documentation code, all this is pretty self-explanatory. Nothing new here other than the fact that now when you input how much down payment you're making in the transaction, you can directly below that indicate the source of that down payment. You can see the full details of the transaction with shortcuts into the itemization, LE pages 1, 2, and 3. As well as links to the home buyer counseling page and the service provider page. The impound indicators right here are not functional yet. For example, up here, I have whether or not I have escrows or not. These are not yet communicating to each other, so we are working to resolve that issue. We can also quickly access to the title vesting from here. Under the income and housing section, I could jump straight into the 4506T. Shortcuts to the pay stubs, W-2s, and the tax returns, e-folder items. A new item that's been added here is our mortgage insurance quote. I could go ahead and, if none of this information were populated, And we'll see that we're going to have to go back through and click this button in our cancel app once we do this. I can actually go straight in to get an MI quote from here. This is set up currently for Radian Direct being Compass 360 as the provider. If you don't see that under My Providers, you can check All Providers and then grab it. It will not require a username for a quote only. When you submit through here, it's going to pull open all the loan details information, including the defaulted coverage percent based on the loan parameters. This recommendation in here as well. When I click submit, it's going to run through and get an actual quote from Radian. Now, underwriters currently have the integrated MI services to order cert. This integration is simply for quotes. So this has been opened up for LOs and processors to go through and grab quotes quickly. We can see all of our fees, our values in here for coverages. I can import them straight into the system as well. If this were an upfront premium, it would indicate right here as being upfront, and it would import the fees to the itemization. But because this is a borrower paid monthly quote, there's nothing going to the itemization in this instance. However, I did get my monthly factors already populated into here. So I would go in and make sure that they are marked that they are added to the loan payment and cancel out my 78%. If it's a 2 to 4 unit property or if it's a non-owner occupied transaction, your cancel out percentages are going to be different. Another added benefit of that as well, if I were to look in my e-folder, I actually already have my mortgage insurance quote here that we just ran. So there's no upload piece to that. A shortcut to the VOM here as well. Under the credit and liabilities, I can order credit, view credit, import credit, indicate my borrower's consent to authorize our access to their credit. All their credit score information, none of this information has changed from your current borrower summary. We do have shortcuts added to any kind of bank statements that might be in the e-folder as well. Under the declarations themselves haven't changed, but now up here we have access to run our AUS findings. We can input additional borrowers' information for our government monitoring, if need be, for their identification for Patriot Act. Generally, you don't need to use these fields. These fields would be if you did not have a copy of the borrower's identification and had to fill out the long form version of the Patriot Act disclosure, indicating what information you had verified of that applicant. But in most files, we have identification copied for the borrowers. And of course, all of our demographic information is back here along with our interview information. So this is just a high-level overview of the new summary. We are going to keep the existing summaries and existing duplicative forms available. They will be removed within the next couple of weeks to simplify the views of the users and their default forms, but you would still retain access to them.